Michelle, it's the second week of October.
I know.
And we really should be working on some Halloween crafts.
Oh, you're right.
Well, I've come up with a craft idea that I think you're going to like.
Okay.
And I designed it in a way that's going to let us do it using mostly stuff we already have lying around the workshop.
Oh, great. And
Yeah.
it's fairly simple?
I don't always know the difference between art and craft. And I
yeah.
tried to keep it, you're going to be doing most of the work. So you can tell me afterwards how hard it was.
Great.
Yeah, exactly.
So how'd you come up with this Halloween craft idea? Regale me while I do all the work.
Well, I was sculpting something in epoxy sculpt.
Yes.
And once you combine parts A and B, you got to make something with it.
It's like resin. It just hardens.
Right. It's not reusable. It
Right.
just turns to rock. So I had a little bit left over. I didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
And a friend suggested I make a little ghost. So I did.
He's cute.
He's adorable, but spooky.
Yeah.
Very spooky. So he's been sitting on the back of the workbench for at least a few months now.
Right.
And the other day I was going through our supplies and I realized I could incorporate him into a cute, cartoony little graveyard diorama, perfect for Halloween.
And by saying you could incorporate the supplies into a graveyard diorama,
Yeah.
you mean I could incorporate the supplies into a graveyard diorama.
Of course you can, Michelle. Have confidence in yourself. I do.
I feel like, how are you contributing?
Well, don't forget I made the ghost.
Oh, yeah, the ghost.
He's the most difficult part.
So after painting the foam dome,
Foam dome.
I'm going to flock it to look like a hill of soil. I could use the peat moss, which is a nice, cool brown color.
Right.
Or the black tea, which is a little warmer.
Yeah.
Or I could use actual dirt or artificial soil flocking or any number of things lying around in the workshop.
Yeah, it's actually really similar to how we put together any diorama that we work on.
Yeah.
It's just maybe a little more cartoony.
Right.
A little more stylized.
Yeah. To stick the flocking to the dome, I use regular PVA glue. But Mod Podge would work too. Or even spray adhesive, I guess.
Do you know the difference, by the way, between an art and a craft? Exactly.
Yeah.
I know it's not a qualitative difference.
Yeah.
It's not that it begins with craft and then it's elevated to art, because I know there are finger paintings hanging on refrigerators right now that some people call art.
Yeah, right.
And I know that there are intricate, hand-tooled oak armoires that people call crafts. So it's not a hierarchy.
Does it have to do with the tools?
I don't know.
Or the materials?
I think that when we make art, we use some of the same tools and materials as we use when we craft something. But I mean, are we arting?
Right.
Or are we crafting?
Right,
Is
yeah.
it all semantics? Is that the issue I'm having? Because
Yeah.
I honestly don't know if this Halloween craft I'm forcing you to work on is a craft or not.
I'll be honest. It doesn't feel much different than making a diorama for a gallery.
Yeah.
It seems the same.
Yeah.
Right down to you standing there while I do the work.
I made the ghost!
Okay, so now I have to put the grass on the hill. I could do this half a dozen different ways. Static grass, foam flocking.
But we want to go simple.
Yeah.
Because I have it in my head that crafts are simple.
Yeah.
Holiday crafts anyway, right? Like they use easy to procure supplies.
Right.
Or maybe more homespun supplies than purchased product. So I figured moss,
Yeah.
ground up in the coffee grinder, real fine, would be a crafty way to make grass.
When you were a kid, did you make Halloween crafts that weren't necessarily art projects?
Well, I was always drawing.
Right.
I'm sure I made Halloween cards.
You still do that?
Right. And that's a craft, I think.
Yeah.
And art. I don't know. I think I've lost the narrative.
Ah.
I feel like, Brundlefly. Like I don't know whether I'm a human with a fly head or a fly with a human head at this point.
I think you're a human with an idiot's head.
Oh, you know what? I made some of my Halloween costumes.
You made them?
Well, I mean, it's not cosplay level stuff. I was a
Okay.
kid. But when I was a teenager, I made that zombie mask with the
yeah.
paper mache and 10 yards of yarn for hair.
Yeah, I'd say that's a craft.
You say that, but it really felt like art to me at the time. But it was functional. And
Right.
you could probably hang it on your wall, and maybe that makes it a craft.
Okay.
Oh, and every year, I still make monster paper dolls for the kids in our teacher friends' crafting classes.
Oh, right.
So am I doing the art part and the kids are doing the craft part? Maybe?
I feel like you're overthinking it.
I feel like I always overthink it.
I think this project is a Halloween craft.
Okay.
Even though it kind of feels like one of our art projects.
Right.
We're designing, sculpting, painting, basing.
yeah.
For a simple craft, it's pretty elaborate.
Okay.
So maybe it's both.
Maybe.
So the next thing I had to do was cut a bunch of headstones out of different sized coffee stirrers and popsicle sticks.
And those could have been sculpted out of clay or
right.
carved out of foam or even cut out of styrene, I guess.
Yeah.
But the popsicle sticks have a real crafty feel to me.
Yeah.
Like it fits with the foam and the homespun supplies, and it seems like something a kid and their parents could do on an October afternoon at the kitchen table.
Right?
And after you were done painting, much like I do with any sculpture or build, or even some illustrations, I washed the headstones with a little color.
Yeah.
Some brown and black to age them, and some green to give them a mossy appearance. And I dry brushed them a little to bring out the edges. But at that point, I felt like it was time to let you take over again. I didn't want to throw my back out working too hard.
Yeah, I wouldn't want you to overexert yourself.
I won't, trust me, I won't. I'm not sure you had to slice the slot for the headstones since you cut the wood with such a nice sharp angle at the bottom.
Oh, right.
But I suggested it because I didn't want you to have to push too hard through all that flocking and glue and all that stuff.
Thanks. Really took the weight off of my shoulders.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I'll keep that in mind when I'm cranking out the 9th or 10th one of
Well,
these.
plus, it's a little like digging a grave, this part, right? It's kind of spooky.
Yeah.
You see how hard I work to help you enjoy the Halloween season?
No, you do. When
I
we were
think I
making
do.
these,
Yeah.
the first leaves were starting to fall off the trees.
They were.
And pile up in the streets and in the sidewalks.
Yeah, and in the yard. And that's another thing.
Yeah?
I just got you that new rake. My willingness to share the holiday magic knows no
Are
bounds.
you ready to look at the first of these mini
Well, are
cemeteries?
you done?
Oh, you don't know how
All right,
done
let's
I am.
take a look. Knock it off. Okay, let me just critique this.
If you say one word.
No, I'm not critiquing your work. It's beautiful as usual.
Thank
This
you.
is a very cute, artsy Halloween craft.
Yeah.
It's my design I'm critiquing.
Okay.
I tried to keep this super simple, but I'm just thinking, as cute as it is, what else could I do with it?
Wheels are turning?
Yeah, let me show you what I came up with.
Okay.
Okay, the first thing I did was I molded and cast a few more of these adorable ghosts.
Yeah.
Then I drilled a hole for some wiring. Then I got out my fine engraver and I cut some design details into a couple of headstones, a classic RIP and a rough-hewn skull.
Nice.
Then I worked on that wiring. This was the first time I tried soldering, and I only burned myself twice.
Very proud of you.
Then I used a heat gun to shrink some tubing.
How many times did you burn yourself with that?
Just once, Miss Smarty Pants, but it was worth it because the soldering and the shrink tubing worked out like a charm.
Good.
Then I cut wire and I twisted and twisted it until my fingers were sore, and I had the start of a very tender blister and a very creepy Halloween tree.
Yes.
I'm working on a Patreon video right now about how to make that tree, so hopefully that'll be done soon. And finally, I cast one more little ghost, this time out of transparent resin. Now let me show you how that all turned out. Okay, here's the original one you did, and you did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
It's a cool Halloween craft that I can imagine on a desk or a bookshelf.
I like it.
Yeah.
And to add to the spookiness, I painted the ghost with a little glow-in-the-dark paint.
That looks amazing.
Thank you.
So for the second one, I painted the base a Halloween purple, and I stuck that wiring right up through the graveyard to give the ghost a warm, flickering glow. And when you turn the lights out on this guy,
Ooh,
Yeah.
it's like someone's telling ghost stories by the
Yeah.
campfire, and then the ghost shows up.
hi fellas, what's happening? With this third one, we wanted to go with more of a dead, wintry look.
Yeah, so we flocked it with dead-looking static grass, brown leaves, and placed some tufts of overgrown grass by the headstones. That RIP looks great.
Yeah, it turned out okay.
Yeah.
Same thing with the dead tree.
Creepy.
Hi fellas, what's happening? But then we wanted one that was bursting with color. So we flocked it with multicolored leaves, long green grass, and went full fall splendor with the tree.
I love that tree.
Yeah.
This feels like maybe we moved a bit beyond holiday craft.
Well, yeah, this is more elaborate.
Yeah.
The one you did first was your basic craft, and I just wanted to see where we could take it. And I have more ideas in my head that I want to try.
Okay, good.
I think coming up with that first one really sparked a lot of inspiration for me.
Good.
Oh, and since it looked so great on the original, I painted this ghost glow in the dark too.
It's so spooky.
It is. It's really
Yeah.
spooky. And if I were a fly with a human head, I would not want to walk through this tiny little graveyard at night.
No. So there you go. You made a Halloween craft.
I did.
And then some.
And so did you.
Yeah.
And I'm still looking at all of these and coming up with ways to modify them.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think October lasts long enough.
Never does.
But yeah, I like all of them. There's kind of a range here from simple to advanced.
Very much like the range represented by the staff here at the studio.
Contractually, I can have you fired for that kind of insubordination.
Really?
I can get HR in on this right after lunch. I'm very close with the
Try it.
people at the head office. We're like this. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah.
I hope you all have fun coming up with your own Halloween crafts this month.